Sarudin as your moderator for today's event, with Humaira Husna bin Fazali as your timekeeper for today's presentation session. Before we start, I would like to read the rules and regulations that need to be applied during the event. First, the time allocated for the presentation is only 15 minutes. The time allocated for the question and answer session is 5 minutes only and starts when the presenter starts responding. The panel can only start asking questions when the presentation session has ended. The bell will be rung once in the 10 minute of the presentation. In the 10 minute of the presentation, and twice in the 15 minute of the presentation, marking the end. And the question and answer session will begin. Questions from the panel assessors should take precedence over other panels. Last one, the moderator reserves the right to stop the presentation of participants or assessor during the Q&A session if it is found to have exceeded the stipulated time period. Now, let's start the ceremony with the first presenter, Muhammad Haziq Aizuddin bin Azmi from Decile 5 to present his presentation. Please welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Haziq bin Azmi from Unit 5. I will be presenting on my study that I've done, which is a survey on the factors affecting students' English writing skills among year 5 students in SK.
Do you have any hard copy of your PowerPoint slide?
Okay, first, we go into the background of the study. As we all know, writing is a very important aspect of language skills. One of the 4 main skills is listening, speaking, writing, reading, and writing. So, in Malaysia, our education system places a heavy emphasis on English language mastery, as it is considered as the second most important language right after Bahasa Melayu. So, English language education is heavily emphasized in our education system. However, in some areas in our country, the students rarely get exposition into English related material due to the environment and their social, cultural, and economic background. So, due to that situation, English is only available to them only through school and at school time. So, due to that, their English language development can only occur during school time and not after school or at home. Next, we go into it. Next, we'll take a look at the problem statement. First, English language was declining in standard at Malay medium schools, as stated in a paper by Halifa 2020. This is because he stated that many Malay students are being sent to medium schools that operate using Bahasa Melayu as their first language. So they rarely use English language outside of the English class. Because of that, the students rarely get the chance to apply their English language knowledge outside of the English class. And secondly, in 2019, in a paper by Ambilan 2021, he stated that a report by MOE stated that 23% of UPSR candidates in 2019 failed the writing paper, which is English paper 2, while 35% of them scored close perspective. Third one, students face difficulties in writing due to lack of vocabulary, poor spelling, first language interference, and poor grammar knowledge. According to Farouk, 2020. And lastly, Malaysian students are claimed to be non-active learners. According to Ian, in 2017, he said non-active learners because students in Malaysia in some rural areas only actively participate in English language learning in class or in schools and rarely involve themselves in learning English outside of time or at home. Next is the research objectives. There are 2 research objectives. First one is to identify the most common factor that affects the student students' English writing skill among the respondents in the scale A. Second one is to find out the difference in the factors affecting students' English writing skills between male and female respondents. Okay, now research questions. Also two research questions. First one is, what is the most common factor that affects the students' English writing skill among the respondents in scale A? Second one is there any difference to the factors affecting students' English writing skill among respondents between male and female respondents? The next, the research significance. The results gained from the finding from study hopefully will give teachers an insight into the writing problems faced by the students, and in hand, it's hoped that the teacher can improve their pedagogy or the classroom arrangement in order to improve the students' English writing skills based on the findings obtained from this study. Okay, now, the related past researches to the study that I've done. First one is a study by Sharon Radcliffe in 2015 titled Factors Affecting Students' English Writing Skill in Primary Schools. In this paper, she emphasizes that students find the skill, which is writing skill, very difficult to master, confusing, and difficult to understand. This is because she stated that writing skill is one of the 4 skills that require most practice. And without intensive practice, the students will have a hard time to master writing just by relying on materials given by teachers in class. Okay, next, the second study is by Jack M. Chakwe in 2013 titled Motivational Factors to Promote Students' Interest and Involvement in Teaching and Learning English. In this paper, it stated that underpreparedness or motivational factors caused by ineffective teaching from the teacher in school, socioeconomic issues, and not enough reading done is the factors that negatively affect the students' English writing skill in Malaysia. The third one, a study by Oya Buyabus and Ismail Shakir in 2014 titled Yes, Uncovering the Motivational Factors Behind English Writing Skill in English First Language Context. They stated in the paper that they emphasizes on the impact of students' motivation on their own English writing development skills. And the fourth one by Mo Mobin, 2018, in the study titled Motivational Factors to Promote Students' Interest and Involvement in Teaching and Learning English. She states that focus on the students' lack of motivation and lack of interest in writing classes. The students in Myanmar, which is the sample that they used in the paper, experience severe anxiety, low interest in English as a subject, and are worried of making mistakes when they are given work by the teacher. So instead of participating actively in the class, they are more worried about making mistakes during every time the teacher gives work to them. Lastly, study by Muhammad Khalid Ashraf and Muhammad Bilal is ESL learners writing skill, problem factors and suggestions. In this study, the researcher focused on the problems in students' writing, the factors that cause the problems, and the suggestions on English writing skill among students. They also stated that poor writing skills are caused by the teacher and the student. Okay, next is the research design that I've chosen for this study, which is quantitative research using descriptive and inferential data analysis method and data collection through survey. Okay, the population and sample that I've chosen for this study is the year 5 students of SKDDK with number 81 students. And according to the table of sample by Tracy and Morgan, it stated that I should choose a sample of at least 60 students. So I chosen to get around 70 students from the next. The research instrument that I've used to gather the data in the study is online questionnaire, done in the medium of Google Form. The questionnaire is adapted from 2 different studies by Oya and Ismail, and Sharon Yaakob on the factors affecting students' English writing skill. The questionnaire is divided into 4 sections. Section A is demography that has 3 items. It's gender, class, and English mark, test mark. Section B is practice factor. Section C, teacher factor. Section D, students factor. Section B and D containing 4 items respectively, and section C, 5 items. Next. Next is the data collection procedure. First, I plan to get approval from supervisor to conduct pilot study and survey for data collection from my supervisor. And after I got the permission from the supervisor, I proceeded to get permission from administrators from the school in order to conduct the study. Later, I contacted the English teacher in order to help distribute the questionnaire to the students. Later, the teacher distributed the questionnaire in WhatsApp group. Then 1 week of time is given in order to get the target amount of response from students. And then when the target is achieved, I analyze the data using expressions. Okay, now data analysis procedure. I analyze the data using expressions version 26.0, and there's 2 analysis method that I've used in this study, which is descriptive analysis by mean interpretation, and second one is inferential analysis by doing t-test. Okay, now the data findings, I will divide it into 2 sections, which is research question 1 and research question 2. For the first research question, I will attempt to answer the question by using mean interpretation. There are 3 different sections of the data that I've gathered, and based on the findings, the highest mean that I've gained is from the teacher factor from the student, which means that the students are more affected in their English writing skill development by their teacher or the actions done by the teacher. This can be shown in the 4.1 mean according to Moiduni in the mean interpretation table that she is devised. It is a high mean score. Next is the second research question, which is answered through t-test. The p-values for practice, teacher, and students factor are 0.347, 0.278, and 0.102 respectively, which is higher than the significant value proposed by Kim in 2015, which is 0.05. This value marks that there is no significant difference between male and female respondents in the factors affecting their English writing skill. Next. Okay, from the findings of today, for this question 1, 2 out of 5 items from the teacher factor section showed a very high mean value. That marks that the students are very highly positively affected by the teacher in their writing skill development. Meanwhile, 2 out of 4 items from practice factor section showed medium mean value. 2 out of 4 items is the lowest mean in this questionnaire, which shows that the students in this school rarely practice English outside of their class, English class. Research question 2, practice factor p-value 0.347, teacher factor 0.278, and student factor 0.1. These values are higher than the value of 0.05, which can be assumed that there is no difference in the factors affecting student skill between male and female respondents. Okay, now the conclusions for research question 1. It can be concluded that the most common factor affecting student skill is the teacher's factor. And for the second question, it can be concluded that there are no significant difference between male and female respondents in the factors affecting their writing skill. Now, recommendations. There are 3 parties that can be recommended, which is first, teachers. It can be recommended for the teachers to provide motivation and positive feedbacks in class in order to motivate the students to more actively participate in class, in order to retain the writing knowledge better, especially in rural schools where the students are for lower motivation in class. Second, the parents can create a comfortable environment for the students to practice and to learn English in their home setting without encouragement from the teacher, so that the students can practice English at their own pace in their own comfortable environment. Okay, now the third is recommendations for future researchers. Further research should be done in schools with much wider racial diversity because in the school that I've conducted this study, the majority of the students are from Malay households. And further research should also take into account the students' socio-economic background. Because in this rural school, many of the students are from medium to low income families. The next is the implications of the study to two of the parties, which is teachers and parents. First, for teachers, you saw that the findings obtained from the study can provide information on the causes for the students' struggle in producing good written work in class. So that based on the data gained from the factors affecting the students' writing skill, can be concluded that a teacher and how a teacher teaches writing in class is the most influential factor that determines the student's writing proficiency. Next, for parents, it is hoped to show that the parents are an important role, play an important role of practicing English at home. Next. Okay, that's all.
Thank you for your presentation. The ceremony will now continue with a question and answer session. Please welcome Dr. Faiza and Dr. Juliana to ask any questions to the presenter.
Okay, Aziz, congratulations. Even though I can see that you're very nervous, but you made it, right? Okay. First of all, your topic of your research is a survey on the factors affecting the students' writing English writing skills among Year 5 students in SKDTK. What is that?
I did
What is SKDTK?
SK Datuk
Datuk?
Sekali.
Boleh.
In Melaka.
In Melaka. Okay. One. You touch on that later. Okay. I just why this is a survey, right? Quantitative, right? So why didn't you focus only on your 5 students in SKDTK? Because this is quantitative survey.
Yeah.
So why is it the sample only 81? Why do you focus on only on Year 5 students in this school? And because whereby for the quantitative it should be spread. So
Yes.
why only Year 5 students?
Okay, so the notification is for the action of choosing sample of Year 5 students because the situation of English education in primary school is that Year 5 students have had exposition to CFR curriculum for quite a long time. So it is they are prime sample on to evaluate the effectiveness of English education through the new curriculum devised by also because Year 5 students they are 1 year prior to the big exam in Year 6. So how they have developed their writing skill is important because they are one stage before heading to secondary segregation.
Okay, why only on this in this school? Why not? Why don't you include other Year 5 students from other schools?
It's because in SK Dr. Karim is a rural school that is predominantly Malay. From the students, majority of the students from the school are from Malay culture, Malay race students. So I think it is interesting to study that how a school that have not been exposed to a majority of other race students, how it affects their English development. Like,
But there is no studies that shows that because of the Malay or because of the race, right?
Yes.
Do you have any review that shows of past research that shows that only Malay have this kind of problem and not other races, or only those in the rural schools only? And is this the only school in the rural schools that consists of Malay students
Because
in the whole of Malacca?
this Stagnating sekarang is a small school because other nearby schools are quite large, so they have considerable majority a considerable amount of Chinese, Indian, and major other cultural groups from Borneo. So uh, from the research done by Sarah Yaakob, she conducted the study in a school that is that contains a large amount of Malay and Chinese students, and she noted that the average average achievement for Chinese students are a little higher than Malay, and Malay students in that school have uh, have uh, achieved a little better from other rural areas.
Okay. My what to say? I think because this is a quantitative research, I think you should um give get more sample, and you shouldn't only focus on year 5 students in this school. So you should give more the survey should be given to more students, to more should focus on other year 5 students in other schools too. It shouldn't be only 81 samples. Actually, it should be more, and it should spread. Okay, because this is quantitative. Okay, so that is my comment now. Okay. Uh,
Question. Alright, first, what is that for your slide for problem statement? On problem statement. Okay. And I look at your problem statement. Okay. There are lots of you are not focused on. So you want to focus on writing, is it? Okay. So make it more focus okay? For your problem is about writing skill. So it's mainly of course it's about okay, perfect, post value, and then can get clear. It's okay. Okay, that one. And not active learning, that thing is not related for your studies. Okay, so for this segment, make it more focused. Okay, so you look at your topic and then you correct. Okay, and next is about research ethics. You mentioned the needs. Yes, okay, next slide. Next, next,
yang ada nama Azizah tu. Yang mana tu?
Data.
Dia.
okay. You mentioned in the future one Aziza, SKDK kan. Okay, so please don't mention me in your report. It's research ethic, okay? Research ethic, and don't reveal me. And you must put a standard now. Okay, actually I want to ask you one more answer. Okay, why you choose this topic for writing?
Why this topic? Because writing is one of the field in English language mastery that students in rural areas struggle for the most time. Because from there are two English papers. Is paper one and paper two is predominantly writing, focus on writing. Students score less on paper two. They lack the skills in English writing. So I think that it is necessary to gain further insight to the root of the problem.
I think you need some more like it's about significance of respect.
It is significant.
Oh, it's a significant. Oh, okay.
Dia macam dia tak match tau. Banyak yang tak match Haziq. Because when you look at your research significance, it teaches an insight into the writing problem faced by students and give a huge impact on their performance. Okay, significant. It teaches an insight. Lepas tu you punya findings macam I would hear affected by the teachers' factors. Students are affected by the teachers' factors. Okay, affected by the teachers' factors. Lepas tu dengan bagi teachers insight. Lepas tu satu lagi, you never mention what are the teachers' factors. What are the teacher factors that actually affect the students' problem in writing?
Actually, each of the 5 items is related to the teacher and the teacher's influence to the students. For example, so first, the teaching approach that the teacher used, and teacher-student relationship, and how the teacher motivates students in writing class.
Okay, you should mention that during in your slides actually. Okay, what are the teachers' factors that affect the students' performance, right, in writing? So because you mentioned just now that the only the teachers' factors that affected the students in writing performance. Okay, so you need to list down, tell us what are the students' factors, what are the teachers' factors, because that is the finding of your study, right? So that is, we go back to your research question just now. So what is your research question again? Tengok boleh tak? What is the most common factors affecting the students' English writing skill among the respondents? So what are the most common factors affecting the students' writing skill? The teacher. The teacher. Is there any difference to the factors affecting students' English writing between the male and female students? What's your answer?
No, there's no difference.
There's no significant difference. Okay. So yang the very important one is number one. And so that is the significance for your studies lah. For the teacher to improve their pedagogy. Teacher. Okay.
You should from the beginning at the end to the end, you should inline every point. So tengok tak dia. So when you say ni ada tak ada tak ada kan. System of study tadi you mention about performance. Tak ada tak mana kan. Okay.
So whatever that you write in your research, you can tengok your research question. Research question you apa? So whatever that you write mesti align with your research question. Okay?
Thank you. Now please welcome our next presenter, Anissa Aisha from lesson 4 to present her presentation. Please welcome. Thank you, moderator.
Wait. Let me wait.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good morning. I greet to respected analysts and my fellow friends. My name is Nur Anisa Aisyah binti Zulkifli from PISMP Lesson 4, intake June 2018 intake. So today I will be presenting my research on exploring blended learning application on primary school students' engagement and creative learning in English class. Next. So this is the background of the study. The advent of technology and the widespread use of its application in recent decades has created ample opportunities to provide better and improvised learning programs. So according to Graham 2020, the contemporary blended learning ecosystem is rich with innovation and creativity. And the diversity of blends actually reflect the range of possibilities for transforming students' experience. So Graham stated this in 2013, and now we are in the year of 2022, with the more advanced technology and as the following the pandemic that hit the whole world globally, it has changed the setting of education, not just in Malaysia, but in the world globally. So there are many platforms of online learning that emerge, such as Moodle or Google Classroom. So all of these were not were available before, but now it is becoming more and more relevant and more become the necessary for us in the recent time. So the widespread use of online learning technologies and applications have resulted in educational advancement settings which enriches learning environment and it provides a plethora of opportunities towards a more adaptable learning program. So it would be a waste if these opportunities were to be overlooked. So in order to meet the needs of society in this innovative era who were born into the digital technologies, I think that it is necessary for English teachers to increase interactive and immersive educational content in their learning. And as well as for us, the future teachers, we should be more, we should improve ourselves and in terms of finding and integrating online learning in our teaching. Okay, next. So these are my statement of problems in the students' engagement in school. According to Muhammad, 2015, most research on school effectiveness has focused on academic achievement, with less attention paid to how schools motivate and engage their students in the learning process in school life. The next one is the stagnating traditional methods of teaching and learning in class. Lecturers and teachers alike struggle to snatch the students' attention away from any assorted online platform, such as Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp, and Twitter, giving the rise to the necessity for them to use similar digital-based tools to attract students into academic discussion. This is the research by Muhammad 2019. So the questions that I want to raise is that
we are in the new world where the technology had become much more uh, much more familiar with our lives. So we can't use the old methodology to teach our students who were born into this era of technology and innovation. Okay, next. So the purpose of this study is to explore the application of blended learning on primary school students' engagement and creative learning in English class through the blended learning activity that was carried out by an English teacher in primary school. So because I want to integrate like the digital mediated learning in class, there will be some uh, output. So what I want to prove is that how the impact of blended learning can give positive positive effect to engagement and creative learning in English class. So these are my research objectives. The first one is to explore the blended learning approach applied by an English teacher in the primary school. The second one is to investigate the impact of blended learning on students' engagement in English class. And the third one is to investigate the possibilities of blended learning in enhancing the creative learning in English subject. All right, next. So from the research objective, I derived the research questions, which are how did the English teacher incorporate blended learning in her learning, in her teaching? And the second one, what is the impact of blended learning on students' engagement in English class? And the third one, what are the potentials of blended learning enhancing creative learning in English class? So these are the significance of the research. It is so that the trainee teachers, especially in IPJ area, I can get practical ideas on the technique and blended learning model that were practiced by the teacher during English class in primary school as a preparation for further implementation of blended learning in future. The second one, trainee teachers and lecturers can acknowledge the possibilities of integrating experimentation and inquiry learning in English class through the application of blended learning from this study to increase creative learning in English class. Because experimentation and inquiry learning were part of creative learning. I will explain it further later. And the last one is that the information from this study can benefit the lecturers and trainee teachers developing ways to increase the usage of blended learning in primary school class, English class. Okay. So these are the related past research. According to Jerry and Yunus, 2021, the emergence of the fourth industrial revolution for IR have prompted the discussions about the constructive relationship between the integration of technology and teaching and learning in order to meet the needs of society in this innovative era. The second one by Suliswaro, 2018, he implied that the technology used in blended learning may broaden spaces available for learning, engage and motivate the students through interactivity and collaboration, and support the provision of information and resources to students in school. And the last one, I would like to bring Halverson and Graham 2019, which stated that blended learning has the potential to promote cognitive engagement, which is characterized by attention, effort, and persistent time on task, cognitive strategy use, absorption, and curiosity, as well as emotional engagement through interest, happiness, confidence, and the absence of boredom, frustration, and anxiety. Okay, next. So these are my research design. I follow the Sharon Williams qualitative research and case study applications in education in 1998. So that when I was searching for searching about case study, there are three approach that I came to know, which are Robert Dean and Robert Stick, and also Sharon Merriam's case study. So I choose Sharon Merriam's qualitative research case study applications in education because Sharon Merriam, she elucidate the blurred extent in case study, which particularly she described she further described what is case study. So what she mentioned in her research was the first one case study is a heuristic, particular, and descriptive. So it means that when we talk about case study, it must be particular in some in terms of the group when we are talking about this certain group or this certain phenomenon that is particular. And the second one is heuristic, which means
I
that
think you should hurry up
oh,
because you only have a few minutes to go.
so literature review is an important step in this research design and theory formulation. So this research actually starts from literature review. I do literature review and I develop my conceptual framework from the literature review. So these are the 5 steps in conducting this research. Okay, next. Okay, so my respondent consists of teacher. The teacher selected as study sample was an English teacher who had master's degree in education, parent, and the student. So uh, in this study, I was explored the activity, the blended learning activity that was done by this teacher in her classroom. So the student showed a remarkable engagement and creative learning uh, in their project. So this is why I choose to study this case. All right, next. So this is my instruments for data collection, which are interview protocol and checklist. Okay, next. So, and we go to the research procedures. The first one, I conduct literature reviews, and from that, I identify a topic of interest. Then I identify the research problems. Next, I determine the research objective and research question. Next. So then I establish the reliability of instrument. For my interview protocol, I seek the validation from my supervisor and other lecturers to know whether my instruments are reliable or not. Next, I select the sample, then carry out interview and document analysis. The last one, I write and present the research findings. Next, I did an interview by carrying out some structured interview with the interview participants. Next, I conduct document analysis. Next. So this is my data analysis procedure. I use the meta-analysis to evaluate the data in this study. The first one is familiarizing with the data from my interview. I transcribed my interview and and I went through the students' scrapbook to find the codes, to find the themes, and then I review the themes. And the last one, I define and name the theme. Okay, next. So these are my data findings. The result things show that the respondents' answer towards the question asked during the interview were parallel to each other. In this context, the themes that exist in the transcription of the interview, which study respondent IP1, IP2, and IP3, are cognitive engagement, emotional engagement, and creative learning. So from the transcription of data and the document analysis, I find these certain themes to make sure that if they are engaged or is their creative learning that present in their learning. So these are the uh, document analysis. Their immersion in the topic of interest, experimentation, inquiry learning, and assistance from the materials of interest. Okay, next. Discussion. So students' engagement in English class. Cognitive and emotional indicators such as attention, effort, persistence, cognitive strategy, concentration, and curiosity were presented in the findings, which will fill the indicators for student engagement through and creative learning through application of blended learning by the teacher. And as for the possibilities of blended learning enhancing creative learning in subject, there is inquiry-based learning, and from the teachers can actually form the creative opportunity to arise during teaching and learning by giving the student chances to explore the topic of interest, which in this context of study is the movie entitled Charlie and Chocolate Factory. Okay, next. We go to conclusion. So I want to conclude that blended learning is one of the pedagogical approach that can be used to create a learning environment which is ideal to develop students' creativity. It's also a very flexible and effective approach because there are so many positive impact of it. Like what I want to show here. Accordingly, the study proposed blended learning approach as an effective teaching approach as it helps students to become more engaged with the learning and increase creative learning effects. Next. My recommendation is that among the suggestions that can be made to improve the application of blended learning.
Okay, can you please hurry up?
Okay, it is highly recommended to carry out more research on the approach of blended learning, particularly in Asian context. The next application. Blended learning provides the right condition for the students to engage more in class, encourage them to practice English in class. And I want to say that the blended learning activity idea in this study is practical and it can also be improvised and compared to other blended activities that can be carried out by the teachers. That's all for me.
Okay. Nama apa tadi tu?
My name is
Anissa, Nur Anissa Aisyah. Okay. Congratulations that you have come to this stage. And okay. Okay. First of all, I go to your research design. Okay. Just cover it for the research design. Okay. You choose case study, right? What is your case actually?
Oh, my case is to explore the blended learning application. The teacher apply blended learning activity into her class, and then I want to see the impact of blended learning on students' engagement and creative learning.
Okay. You want to look at how the teacher apply blended learning, and the teacher that you choose, okay, your the respondents, what you call it? Respondents. It should be participants. Okay, not respondents. Respondents for quantitative. Okay, participants. Okay, you choose 3: teacher, parent, and student. So why do you choose this teacher?
She had a master's degree, so she can explain more about the blended learning.
Is there any special characteristics or any special thing that the teacher did?
Yes, she actually is a excellent teacher mental school. She also had the students that she had teach were also show good result when she
Did she apply blended learning?
yes.
Did you mention that in your thesis?
You apply blended learning, yes.
Yeah. Did you mention that in your thesis?
Yes.
And then how excellent this teacher? Yeah. You say that she is an excellent teacher, and how excellent is this teacher actually?
The students really like her. They, I want to, before this, I want to show the test result, but there is no test result test. So how
Okay.
nowadays.
So, your another participants as parents and also students. Okay, what's the purpose of having those parents and students as your participants there?
So I want to view the impact of blended learning application, the blended learning activity from the perspective of parent and student. So I ask them, I ask the parent whether they see whether she see her child engaged during the class, during the online, or whether her child show interest in learning. That's why I ask for the parents' point of view. As for the student, I ask whether she like the activity, whether uh, she did her best in the activity.
Okay, so the information of the data from the parent and also the students is just to support the teacher.
Yes,
so
I want to test the validity of the findings by triangulating the data, like having the perspective to validate the data from different perspectives, as well as document analysis.
yeah, actually what we found out that your research and your designing, the way you carry out your research is quite complicated. Yeah, quite complicated, whereby actually you can make it simpler. Yes, you can make it simpler. When you look at your research questions pun, kita rasa, wow, this is PhD punya research question. Okay, yeah, or at least masters, not degree level. Yes. And also I don't know, instrument for data collection, you have interview protocol, you have checklist. And I'm not sure of what is checklist that checklist for. And you actually what you did here, interview protocol, checklist, that is, what is that for? Checklist. You tengok checklist ni dari untuk apa sebenarnya?
The checklist is when I analyze the students' scrapbook, I search they how they can actually see uh, uh, from the checklist. I derive the item from the theory that I use. So whether the students can use multiple vocabulary on the topic. So for example, if they are talking about foods, can food in relation to the movie, can they came up with 5 or more vocabulary for the topic?
Yeah, I don't know actually of because the checklist I don't know actually because you are doing on the blended learning, but then now you're checking the vocabulary. It's kind of
So
yeah. What we do is actually is not really focused
Actually, it's based on the model that I use. I use two models. I think that what makes it complicated. I use creative learning situated model by Tangga 2014 and Halverson and Graham theory indicators, engagement indicators in mediated learning.
Yeah, and then that's what make your research become PhD research. Model lagi you guna. Okay. And then I just want to tell you another thing, the last one, actually banyak benda yang saya nak tanya tapi cannot because we have the significance of the research. Okay, trainee teachers especially in IPG KDRI, you shouldn't put the IPG KDRI there. Okay, because ini bukannya untuk, this research is not only for IPG KDRI students, okay, or teachers. Okay, so it should be general. And then another thing is that can get practical ideas on the technique and blended learning model. So when we look at this, mean that macam you produce a model. See? Can get practical ideas on the technique and blended learning model that were practiced by the teacher. Macam the model, right? The way you write it.
Sorry for the confusion.
Yes. So be careful with what you write. Okay, Dr. Chu. Dr. Chu, continue, please.
Congratulations, Aisha. Okay, first of all, okay, I think this is your segment of study. Okay, can you explain more about what is use of immersive? Yeah. Yeah, this
You mean the
interactive and immersive.
I think the background of the study.
Study, yeah. Also. Okay, you said about increase interactive and immersive educational content in the teaching. What do you mean about immersive education?
Immersive educational contents refer to the to contents which the student can relate with, so they can immerse in it. They can be more engaged with the content. That's what I was trying to convey.
Information banyak dah tu. Okay. And then this predictive saja lah. Kita tulis predictive. Lepas tu kita cakap macam kita start PhD level. Because first you to explore kan. Explore to investigate the impact. So the impact kan. Okay, and then to investigate the possibility of blended learning. Of enhancing the criteria in the subject. So yang ni dah sampai banyak. Nak investigate lagi.
Should I just take one?
Yeah.
I should take one.
Same with this question. Kita ikut this question. This question ni pun ada tadi tiga kan? Three kan? Okay. How pun is more than enough. Kalau cakap what is the impact? Impact. Banyak tu. Okay. Kita dah tengok banyak lagi. Okay. What are the characteristics of work? Ini pun banyak. So banyak sangat. Kita construct yang kita tengok. Okay. So yang ni boleh kualitatif boleh macam saya 100 pages saja. 100 pages tak pernah sampai tu. Okay. So berapa banyak kan? So ini question. One. How to get enough? Alright. And then one more for research design. Go to research design. Okay, actually you construct theoretical framework.
Yeah, theoretical and conceptual framework.
Yeah. Because it's qualitative.
Yeah, conceptual.
Okay, we have conceptual framework here. You buat, you construct.
I
Design.
derive from the the theory that I
Okay, so what is your concept of learning? Tak,
don't include here. But actually,
sure. Ya. Kalau tengok macam konsep sekolah tadi. Kan, you kata dua model itu kan?
yes, yeah. So actually from the research objective or research question, I include model, engagement model and creative learning, and then how I analyze the data.
Kita akan itu model tu. Okay, okay, you ada blended learning. Okay, ada blended learning. Okay, so dalam blended learning, it's stated that you apply interactive design. Is it? Tak apply interactive, tapi ada interactive tak?
Because it's engagement.
Okay.
Engagement. So in the theory by Harbison and Graham, it focus more on cognitive engagement and emotional engagement. Whether the students can cognitively engage in the learning and emotionally and cognitively engage in the learning.
I think lots of we can rechecking everything from the
Thank you for the constructive and understanding.
Thank you, Lisa. So please welcome the next presenter, Liza binti Azana from Lesson 2 to present her presentation. Please welcome.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. I greet to the panelists and also my fellow teacher trainees. So before I start, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Aldana from Lesson 2, and I will be presenting my research titled ESL Teacher Trainees Perceptions on Implementation of Home-Based Teaching and Learning (PTR) during practicum amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so to start off my presentation, I will be explaining the background of this study. So the COVID-19 outbreak has caused destructive impacts to the educational sector, which has affected everyone in the education field. This is because the sudden outbreak has caused shiftments in the educational sector, where the traditional way of teaching has transformed into virtual teaching and learning. So the COVID-19 outbreak has also resulted to lengthened lockdowns and closure of national primary schools and even universities, which has provoked drastic changes in the administration of teaching and learning sessions. So in light of this COVID-19 outbreak event, the Ministry of Education, MOE, has introduced a new teaching method, which is referred to as home-based teaching and learning, PDPR. So because this education system was rapidly reconstructed, some teachers are prone to facing difficulties in adapting to this new teaching strategy, while some do not. So these differences will cause division in perceptions among teachers. So it is deemed necessary to conduct a research in order to investigate the perceptions of teachers regarding the implementation of PDPR during the COVID-19 outbreak. Okay, so next, the statement of problem. So in accordance with the outbreak, the home-based teaching and learning PDPR has gained its importance and attention due to the pandemic, as it has shifted from being optional to necessary. So because of the seemingly endless lockdowns, this teaching method has shifted from being optional to necessary. So it is very necessary to investigate the perceptions of teachers regarding the implementation of PDPR in order to determine the effectiveness of its implementation. So next one is the failure of educational initiatives because of the lack of understanding of teachers' motivation to engage in professional development and processes. So the educational initiative that is referred to here is PDPR. So as teachers' perceptions can either negatively or positively affect teachers' motivation to engage in the development of this initiative, it is necessary to carry out this research in order to determine the perceptions of teachers regarding its implementation, to spark new ideas and, and interventions in order to maximize the effectiveness of this new teaching method. And this research is also connected to filling the gap in the research field as there is a lack of focused research orchestrated regarding this particular topic in this area. So the purpose of this study is to decipher ESL teacher trainees' perceptions on the implementation of PDPR after having been involved in executing the new teaching method during the previous practicum period. Okay, so this research was driven by these two objectives, which are to study the perceptions of ESL teacher trainees towards PDPR during their last practicum with the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, and secondly, to investigate the difference in perceptions towards PDPR between male and female ESL teacher trainees of IPDPRI. So this research has attempted to address the following questions. Firstly, what are the perceptions of the ESL teacher trainees towards PDPR during practicum? And is there any significant difference in perceptions on the implementation of PDPR among male and female ESL teacher trainees? The next one, the research significance. So it is hoped that the findings of this study will be able to provide a clear and reliable understanding on how ESL teacher trainees of IPDKDRI perceive this new teaching method. Secondly, this also hope that teacher trainees will be able to develop new ideas and visualization on how to spark improvements when implementing PDPR. This is because this research has attempted to investigate the perceptions of teacher trainees in various aspects that are closely related to the implementation of PDPR during the COVID-19 pandemic. And last but not least, teachers and administrators can pinpoint which aspects of PDPR that needs to be revised and refined to ensure the effectiveness of learning is maximized in these current circumstances. Okay, these are the related past researchers. So firstly, Watson 2021 has conducted a research and has concluded that the transition from physical to online classes has caused division in perceptions among teachers. And next, Han 2019 has also concluded that teachers' insights towards online teaching offer a fair share of crucial information to sustain the excellency of the education system while minimizing the consequences of the outbreak. This concludes that teachers' perceptions are indeed important in order to sustain the excellency of our educational system despite the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic that has caused disruptive impacts to our educational sector. And last but not least, Bani Hidayat 2022 has also concluded that in the implementation of PDPR carries advantages to the education system, especially during tough times where most sectors are affected by the pandemic. So although we are surrounded by the perception that PDPR carries more disadvantages rather than advantages, this particular research has proven otherwise, and has concluded that PDPR indeed has its own advantages that is beneficial to the educational sector of Malaysia. So next, this is the population and sample of this study. The population is 82 ESL teacher trainings of IPGKDRI, and the sample has been decided to be 70 ESL teacher trainees of IPGKDRI, which was derived from the table of sample determination by Tracy and Morgan 1970. So the instrument used for this data collection is an online questionnaire, specifically the use of Google Forms. So in this questionnaire, it contains 5 sections. So in the first section, it questions the respondents' demographic information, and the 4 sections address the perceptions of ESL teacher trainees regarding the implementation of PDPR in certain aspects that is closely related to this new teaching method, which is perception on teaching platforms and materials, flexibility, classroom management assessment, and last but not least, technological facilities and accessibility. This section each consists of 6 items respectively. Okay, next one, the research procedures. So what I did was I selected this research topic, and after finalizing the research topic, I have clarified the research objectives and research questions which are deemed suitable to the research topic after consulting with my supervisor. Next is reviewing related literature to gain an insight on this particular issue to continue with implementing this research. Next is determining the research design and determining the design, the distribution of questionnaires was implemented. And after a total of 70 response has been accumulated, I have collected and analyzed the data. And lastly, I have drawn conclusion after the descriptive and inferential analysis of the data has been implemented. Okay, next is data collection procedures. I have consulted with my supervisor before constructing a set of questionnaires. And after that, I have acquired permission letter from IPGKDRI before distributing these questionnaires to the respondents. So after the questionnaires have been answered by the respondents, I have collected these questionnaires and has performed both descriptive and inferential data on the obtained data. Okay, next, the data analysis procedures. I have used the IBM statistics windows to implement both descriptive and inferential analysis in order to attempt to address the both of the research questions. And next, these are the data findings and discussion. So, in accordance with the first research question, these are the findings, and these are the findings that I have obtained from implementing the research. So what we can see here is in the aspect of teaching materials and platforms, this particular item has scored the highest mean score. And following that is the perception of flexibility, where teacher trainees have mostly agreed on this particular statement. Okay, next is perception on classroom management and assessment. This particular item has also scored a very high mean score, which has indicated which statement that these teacher trainees agreed to the most. Last but not least, perception on technological facilities and accessibility, where the teacher trainees believe that it is convenient for pupils to be supplied with digital and assessment materials as they are able to access it and do revisions at any time of the day. Okay, and to address the second research question, is there any significant difference in perceptions on the implementation of PPR among the two genders? So looking at the p-value of this data, it can be concluded that there is no significant difference in perceptions between the two genders, as all of these values, p-values, are greater than 0.05. So next is the conclusion of this research is the perception of ESL teacher trainees of IPG KDRI in varying aspects towards the implementation of PDPR were determined based on their own experiences during practicum amidst the COVID-19 lockdown, meaning that the response that they have given to the questionnaires were determined based on their own personal experience, which has contributed to the findings of this study. It can also be concluded that there is no significant difference between male and female teacher trainees' perceptions on the implementation of PDPR in the course of their traineeship period based on the inferential analysis that has been made. So the suggestions after having implemented this research for future researchers is to broaden the research to other institutes instead of only implementing this research in this Institute of Teachers Education, which is IPGKDRI. I recommend for future researchers to broaden this research to other institutes to gain a larger sample of respondents to gain more all-encompassing perceptions of teacher trainees regarding the implementation of PDPR. And next one, the suggestion is to employ other variables into the research. So instead of putting gender as the variable in this research, other future researchers can attempt to employ other variables such as race or socioeconomic background in order to gain a conclusion that is more relevant in certain circumstances. And lastly is to allocate the same number of respondents based on the chosen variable. This is because it is the same number of respondents will effectively present an equal representation of perceptions from each respondent of each variety of the variable. So there will be little to no room for biasness and inclarity in order to while drawing the conclusion. So in implementation, teacher trainees are provided with more insights on how to improve their teaching performance. School administrators will also be able to develop strategies to enhance the effectiveness of PDPR. And last but not least, it is hoped that the Ministry of Education will be able to plan an approach and intervention measures to help teachers in adapting with the new teaching environment. That's all from me. Thank you.
Ceremony will now continue with a question and answer session. Welcome Dr. Faiza and Dr. Juliana to ask any questions to the presenter.
Okay. Congratulations, Farah. Yeah, can I have a look at the research objective? Okay. To study the perceptions of ESL teacher trainees towards PDPR during their last practicum amidst the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Do you realize anything there? What? Okay. So it's supposed to be during their last practicum. I think you should take out that their last. Okay. One. And another thing is that to investigate the difference in perceptions toward PDPR between male and female, ESL teacher trainees of IPG KDRI. Why IPG KDRI?
So, because of the current circumstances of this conflict, I reckon that it is easier for me to obtain data from these respondents amongst the people who are in a place that is closer to where I am. So it is easier for me to get in contact with them in case there is any conclusions that can arise from the distribution of the questionnaire.
Okay, but then the way you collect the data online, right? Online survey, right? So why don't you just spread it to other IPG? Because IPG was done because this PDPR was done by everybody, all 27 IPGs all over Malaysia. So why only IPG KDRI? Because you don't need to go anywhere, you just send it through the email. It's easy, right? All at your fingertips. So why only the IPG KDRI? And in fact, this is again, this is a quantitative research, and you actually limit the number of respondents, right? So I think actually you should spread it, okay, to other students, either teacher trainees all over Malaysia and IPG. IPG not only to IPG KDRI students, because you do it online, so there shouldn't be any problem. It's just that up to you whether you want it or not, right? Okay, and okay, the population. Look at the population. 82 ESL teacher trainees of IPG KDRI, right? So semester 8 intake 2018, right? So yang ni berapa orang sebenarnya? You hanya fokus pada TESOL students ke? Why only TESOL students? Because TESOL students is not only TESOL students yang ambil, yang buat PDPR kan? And it also include other major too. So why only TESOL students?
So my reasoning behind choosing only ESL teacher trainees is because we implemented the PDPR in accordance with the curriculum CFR. So I deemed it was at utmost important to firstly investigate and determine the perceptions of ESL teacher trainees who also have implemented CFR during their practicum for implementing PDPR, because it is more relevant to me as a researcher in the English department, and also because the pedagogical approaches between those who are in the TESOL measure can differ from the ones that are used by teacher trainees of other courses. So before I go into investigating the perceptions of all courses, of teacher trainees of all courses, I deemed it was more important at this point of time to firstly gain a transpacious understanding of ESL teacher trainees of IPKDRI before I go into a larger sample population.
Okay. But if I look at the statement of the problem, you never mentioned about the problem focus about anything about ESL. Okay, background of the study also, you never mentioned anything about ESL. So why only ESL here population? So if you want to focus on the ESL teacher trainees, it should be mentioned dalam background of the study. It should be mentioned about the problem. So semua tu kena align. Okay? Then barulah boleh kat sini you choose only the ESL teacher trainees. Okay, Farah? So kat atas, kat belakang tu, dekat problem statement of the problem tu, they should have something to do with ESL teacher trainees. CEFR ke whatever ke, then it should be mentioned as the problem here, then only you can choose the only ESL teacher trainees. Okay? Dia macam tak fair tau. Problem tu semua pada orang, tapi hanya ni je. It should be aligned. Okay? Itu.
And communication. Okay. information. Okay, now, next segment, we said that no significant conditioning and this one no explanation, contribution. Okay, that is something, maybe you can put your ideas in. Okay, your ideas are behind your writing. Okay, okay, tapi you are okay, contribution. Okay, and then, okay, because, one more, the topic is biasa kan the topic. So what is your best advice and your recommendation for future studies?
Few recommendations of my own is first to broaden the
Yes, I know that your point before this. Okay, but it is your because it is your perception of this topic. What are your perception? Maybe other topics for future studies. Okay, what is your recommendation?
I would recommend studying the perceptions of the effectiveness of the implementation of PISMP. Because this information was done, the effectiveness of PISMP. Because maybe this effectiveness can be studied more thoroughly because of this reformation was made very rapidly. So some teachers did not have time to receive adequate training and didn't have time to equip themselves with sufficient technological knowledge. So based on these factors, the effectiveness of PDPR can be studied further.
Yes. My suggestion for you, Farah, you look at you go back to your statement of problem. Okay, nanti tambah something to do with ESL. Barulah dia punya tu lain. Kalau you tak tambah macam tak maknanya tambah daripada awal. Dia mesti selari daripada awal. Okay, so tambah something on the problem and also the purpose of the study. So you kena okay, ESL teacher trainees. If you look at your topic pun ESL teacher trainees. Tapi statement of problem tak ada nothing to do with the ESL teacher trainees. Okay? Thank you. Okay. Orang 5 minit kan?
We'll have a 5 minute break. So the presenter will go outside.
Next presenter. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning. We will start our second session now. Okay, now please welcome our next presenter, Ambilan Suraya binti Suhaimi from Bilik Class 1 to present the presentation. Please welcome.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and very good day. I greet to respective panelists, to moderator, timekeeper, and my fellow friends. My name is Amira Ibn Suraya binti Suhaimi, and today I will present to you the perceptions of TESOL teacher trainees towards the collaborative learning. So without further ado, let's go to the background. Okay, so Glover 2022 reported that the satisfaction score of the nationwide company, which is one of the successful insurance companies in Ohio, was 80.5%, which is good due to good employees as that they are able to work collaboratively and engage with their coworkers instead of functioning individually. Then in 2016, Conway had carried out a survey in Myanmar, and a farmer named Tain Tan was able to improve the life of undeserved rural families in Myanmar through collaboration between himself and other parties. Okay, so this showed that how impactful collaboration is towards one's life. Not just that, the Center of Teaching Innovation of Cornell University claims that educational researchers have found out that collaboration can help individuals to grow and prepare them for real-life social and employment situations, which is very related to us, future teachers. Also, I think collaboration as something essential. If we reminiscing in good old days, okay, for entering IPG, we need to go through few stages. And one of the interview need us to attend to group discussion. So from here, we can see that there are much emphasis given to the collaboration. And even up till now, we're in this institution, we're still practicing the collaboration. Okay, moving on to the next statement of problem. However, not everyone, even the teacher trainees, are fond of collaboration. So National Education Association highlights that collaboration is able to catapult people's thinking and leverage their interpersonal skills. However, like I mentioned just now, not everyone into collaboration. So we know that people born with different personalities. There are extrovert, introvert, ambiverts, and teachers and pedagogy experts have done their research based on this different personality as it affects their learning styles. For example, Tajuk in 2021 argues that introverts would avoid collaboration compared to extroverts. Why? Because extroverts tend to be more vocal compared to introverts. Next, Schindler in 2018 claims that based on neuroscience, women are more to use collaborative styles as women release more oxytocin or trust hormone, or also known as moral molecule. Okay, so this oxytocin will trigger the behaviors of bonding and collaboration compared to men. And then Schnitzer mentions that men were usually fell into the category of game free riders. Or in other words, it says that they are maximizing their benefit by minimizing their contribution to a greater good. That's what Schnitzer said, okay? And then after all the sleepless night, I can see that there are still far too little attention has paid to the perception of TESOL teacher trainees towards collaborative learning, and much uncertainties exist between the genders in between TESOL teacher trainees. So that leads to the gaps existed in the research field. Okay, moving on. Okay, there are two purposes of this study. First, to explain the perception of TESOL teacher trainees on how they view collaborative learning in IPG Campus Dr. Razali Ismail, and to justify that collaborative learning does contribute to the learning process of teacher trainees and improving their skills. So there are two research objectives and research questions. First, to find out the perception of TESOL teacher trainees towards the collaborative learning in KDRI, and to investigate the difference between male and female TESOL teacher trainees' perceptions toward the collaborative learning in KDRI. As for the RQ1, what are TESOL teacher trainees' perceptions toward the collaborative learning in IPG KDRI, and RQ2, is there any differences between male and female TESOL teacher trainees' perceptions toward the collaborative learning in IPG KDRI? So here, RO1 and RQ1 will be analyzed using descriptive analysis,
And RO2 and RQ2 will be analyzed using differential analysis. Okay, this is the research hypothesis for this survey. There is no significant difference between male and female TESOL teacher trainees' perceptions towards the collaborative learning in IPG KDRI, which we'll find out at the end of the study. Okay, so this is the significance of the research. Why it is important to carry out this research? First, to provide exposure to the teacher trainees to social work and generate fresh insights on how TESOL teacher trainees view collaborative learning as part of their learning process, as we know that we are going to associate with society later on. Second, the importance and originality of this survey are that it explores the perception of male and female TESOL teacher trainees towards the collaborative learning, which will reflect the significant difference in perceptions between gender. And third, to fill in the research gap that exists while providing opportunities to find a way to improve collaborative learning among teacher trainees. So we're going to review the related past researchers. So I'm applying two theories in my study. First, the social cultural theory, SCT. It is in play for second language learner as it views learners as active agents and one of the members of the native community. Okay, SCT is a holistic approach and its central belief is the interconnections between learners and teachers will create dynamic effect in the learning process. As SCT was generated through alternative paradigm of SLA, Second Language Association. So its essence was from theories like Vygotsky and Leontief. So the discussion tend to be more on ZPD and scaffolding. And then as for the PLC, Professional Learning Community, it's a group of people sharing and critically integrating their practice in ongoing, reflective, and collaborative way. Because they and it consists of 3 big ideas and 6 essential characteristics. One of the big ideas is that they want to build collaboration culture in an educational environment, as it views that through collaboration, it will create a more progressive and resourceful environment. And one of the essential characteristics is to focus more on learning through collaboration. Okay, as for the past research, I referred to 2 types of perception surveys. One is local context and one international context. Okay, first is towards teaching and learning process at Malaysia Polytechnic. Okay, this is undergraduates performance at Polytechnic Malacca. Another one is perception of EFL collection students who are learning in Taiwan. Okay, however, both research have something that is not really contribute to the research field. There are research gaps from these both research based on the lack of emphasis, like TESOL teacher trainees, and then the population as well as the location. Moving on. Okay, so the methodological approach that taken in this survey in this study is quantitative, as it employs survey as research design. Why survey? Because it allows researchers to collect data and the information from a sample size, a large sample size. Okay, and also it's the best way to assess someone's thoughts or perceptions. All right, moving on. Okay, for population and sample, as this is conducted in IPG KDRI, so the target population is the teacher trainees of the TESOL June 2018 intake, which are 97 of the teacher trainees excluded the researcher. And as for the sample selected, it's using probability sampling, as it allows the researcher to have the representative results of the population. So there are 78 TESOL teacher trainees that were selected based on Credit and Morgan 97. Okay. As for the research instrument, the main instrument is the questionnaire, which is adapted and adopted from 4 resources. Okay, so it adequately covers all the content that able to measure the perception of TESOL teacher trainees. And it's being divided into 2 sections, which are section A, demography, and section 2B, perception towards collaborative learning. In total, there are 35 questions that are using Likert scale with 1 to 5 value. Strongly disagree to strongly agree. Moving on. This is the research procedure. First, I had identified the problems and issues. Okay, and then I reviewed the related literature to get a better insight of this topic. And then I create the RO, RQ, and RH and consult with the my supervisor. And then I choose the sample with best sample design. And I did a pilot test with a central unit of 50 respondents. And then I collect the data, process and analyze the data, and do a report writing. As for data collection procedures, of course, I need to get the consensus from IPGM to carry out the survey and use the data for the academic purposes. And then I distribute the questionnaire to the TESOL teacher trainees of PISMP June 2018. And it took 2 weeks to collect the data. And then I analyze the data using the SPSS. Moving on. Okay, this is my data analysis procedure. I'm using SPSS as my main medium. And here we can see this. I use descriptive analysis and inferential analysis. As for descriptive analysis, it's able to provide a description for the population. Okay, and it will address RO1 and RQ1. As for inferential analysis, since I want to investigate the difference between male and female, so I'm using t-test, and it will address RO2, RQ2, and HO1. Here is the mean score that being shared by Azmin, Muhammad Sahab, and Farida Drami in 2006. So this is my data findings. Okay, we're looking at descriptive analysis first. As for the perceptions, the mean value received for the perception of TESOL teacher trainees was 4.2456, which was very high based on the table I showed before. Okay, so it shows that the responses received was consistent. Other than that, okay, I also did analyze the item, all item, all right, and I find out that the highest mean value is the first item. Collaborative learning is able to generate more ideas, and 4.85 mean value. As for the lowest, okay, the item number 16, I would avoid collaborative learning. However, it is the minimum mean, and the standard deviation is 1.219, which shows that the value is spread, it's not polarized. Okay, so it represents that not everyone avoid collaborative learning. It shows positive outcomes, results. Moving on. Data finding, this is based on inferential analysis. All right, so I did the group statistic perception. Okay, I compared the mean between male and female, and we can see here there is slightly different value. Okay, women have slightly higher mean value, which is 4.3, and male is 4.0. So this apparently show that there is female teacher trainees are into collaborative learning compared to men. Okay, as for the t-test, okay, I received 0.05. So based on TINA 2017, it says that there is significant difference between male and female TESOL teacher trainees. Okay, so moving on to discussions. Okay, so from the findings, it can be the both objectives are achieved. I already found out the perception of TESOL teacher trainees by receiving the mean of highest and the lowest. I also able to investigate the difference between male and female, in which female are more apparent, more into the collaborative learning. As for the RQ and RQ2, it's automatically answered. However, the hypothesis is rejected because there is significant difference between male and female TESOL teacher trainees in academic. So the conclusion, the TESOL teacher trainees perceive collaborative learning positively. This is based on the findings. Okay, based on the findings, teacher trainees did agree that collaborative learning does help to improve themselves and acquire skills like communication skills, critical thinking, and creativity. So here it will be very beneficial for them in their future career. And then it adds to the problem statement mentioned just now, in which we can identify that they are TESOL teacher trainees did perceive collaborative learning differently, and also there are different between men and women perceptions towards collaboration. Okay. Recommendation. Okay, what would I recommend to improve the future study and this collaborative learning is that first, revised strategy. What meant by revised strategy is that based on the findings, there are still few TESOL teacher trainees that would avoid and still demotivated during collaborative learning, and it's not something that you can ignore. So what I would suggest is to create a framework, a better framework that can be used to refer and as a guide, so that it can cater to the free riders issues and other conflicts. For example, setting rules and provide appropriate tasks for based on the number of people in a group. And then exposure here means that collaboration is not just it's not about teamwork alone. Okay, it also about focusing on the assisting tools and the opportunities given to provide better outcomes. So here, the future research can do their research, can further the study by referring to maybe between asynchronous and synchronous collaboration, because now we have pandemic happen, so they can use that, and also they can expand, broaden the sample size. Okay, moving on to the last one, implication. Okay, it is aligned with the theories discussed. Okay, as we can see that just now, like SCT, it said that through collaboration, it will give dynamic effect to a learning process. And this, from my findings, okay, it give more insight, and it shows that these theories are genuine. And then it fill in the research gaps that I mentioned just now. It also provide new perspective of collaborative learning for TESOL teacher trainees especially. And then it proves that collaborative learning does improve learning process, which answer my purpose of study. So that is all from me. Thanks.
Congratulations, Amira, and thank you for your presentation. The ceremony will now continue with the question and answer session. Please welcome Dr. Faiza and Dr. Rashida to answer questions to the presenter.
Okay, congratulations, Amira. My question is, can you please explain on the research gap?
Research gap. Okay. So what I can see is collaboration is not something unfamiliar in this current educational research. However, there is somehow lack on emphasis, especially in the
Something unfamiliar.
collaboration is something familiar in this educational research. Means it's a culture that being practiced by years. So, however, there is lack on emphasis on the TESOL teacher trainees, especially, and because we know that to learn other language is hard. So, but when there is no significant amount of findings that can demonstrate the collaboration learning, how it helps TESOL teacher trainees, okay, so that when the research gap happen. Also, the location and the population, there's no research or findings that I've done for the TESOL teacher trainees. Because based on the research study that I carried out, I did not survey. I can't find any that can really shows the findings for the TESOL teacher trainees.
How many literature review that you referred to?
I referred to, as for now, there are a few, but the one that I really emphasize on my survey, there are two. This is perception of TESOL teacher, perception of collaborative learning, teaching and learning in Malaysia Polytechnic. Another one is the perception of EFL EFL student learners in Taiwan. However, in Taiwan, they did an interview with small sample size. Small sample.
Okay, if you only refer to two literature review, that is not enough to say that that is a research gap. There is not enough data, there is not enough study done when you refer only to literature review, okay? Especially on teacher trainees. So I don't think that there is that is a very strong apa ni nak kata, statement or justification that you give for that research gap. Okay, remember that in order for you to say that there's research gap based on your reading only on based on only 2 literature review, that is not a very strong justification given. Okay, so so actually I think that collaboration, when you talk about collaboration, that is very common. You said that just now, right? Okay, you said that just now. If you say that research gap done by IPG, done on IPG, maybe IPG students. Okay, you should stress that, because maybe because we are quite new, right? Our IPG, then that might be a research gap. But then if you say that on teacher trainees in general, I don't think that is very strong justification.
Sorry.
Okay. So only a few words saja, kan? You lack of a few words to make a big difference. Okay. So that's what I said here. I wrote here the significance of the research. You said that fill in the research gap. What is the gap here? Satu lagi ialah why only you focus only the teacher trainee teachers on June 2018 intake.
First, actually, I want to, because this is my pioneer study, so I want to emphasize on dissertation trainees to take care of it, to ensure the validity of the content, because I'm afraid if I'm doing in a large size, it will affect the validity. Okay, as you know, that dissertation trainees, they share the same knowledge, background knowledge. So it will take care of it based on the homogeneity as well. Okay, and because dissertation trainees, instead of we are experience more physical classes instead compared to other batches, other batch. Okay, because after like 2 years, in study, then we and face pandemic. So that's why I think the most suitable sample that are being selected is the Tesla teacher training 2000.
Whereby I think you should include more, get more data from other batch. Maybe you can include 2019. Maybe you can include other students, other major EM by, because you're here. Actually tak ada kena-mengena pun dengan whether dia TESOL ke, PM ke, JAPIM ke, all of them actually involved in the collaborative learning. You are not talking about teaching. Okay, collaborative learning. So everybody involved in collaborative learning. So I think that next time you will need to be more careful when you choose your sample. Okay? Okay.
Alright, thank you. So congratulations, Amira, on having completing your research. Okay, I understand. This is an education exercise. But then, when we are doing research, later on, your thesis, your project will be referred by your juniors. So we should present the most correct procedures in doing the research, so that the faults, the mistake won't be taken by your juniors also. Okay, I think what Dr. Faiza said also be my concern. Because when you are doing survey, you should be very careful with the sampling. if you choose, and you are talking about collaboration, learning, but you choose, then it is a purposive sampling already. And purposive sampling is cannot be permitted in survey, all right? Especially when you are doing survey. If you are doing case study, then it is a different thing. Okay. So my question is, how do you find this research gap relate to your intention in doing the research?
So actually, I said, me myself, I fond of collaborative learning. So what I mean by research gap, like this now, I think there is no, there is no research done for IPG TESOL teacher trainings. So that's why I think this is the perfect for me. This survey was perfect to find out the perception of my TESOL teacher trainees from my batch about collaborative learning.
Okay, but in your statement of problem, you didn't mention at all ESL teacher trainings. So my suggestion is you should do amendments after this. Find a literature that relates to ESL, at least ESL students or ESL teacher trainees or whatever that is related to ESL, because later in your elaboration of the research, you keep on mentioning ESL, TESOL or ESL, right? So you should amend your statement of problem to have a more narrowed down field to ESL, because your problem statement is general, all right? Okay, and
Can I add?
yeah.
Background of the study too. You look at your background of the study, you talk about the company, nationwide
Yes,
company,
yeah.
you talk about the rural families. Okay, you talk about, okay, so whatever it is, you need to talk about something to do with hustle or something to do with education.
Yes, that is about what I'm about to say.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It's okay. You stole my
Your idea, sorry.
you can read my okay. So same with what Dr. Faiza told you. This one cannot be used actually. Cannot be used at all, especially the first one. Because your intention is you want to highlight the ESL collaboration, right? So you don't talk about the farmers, the employee in industry or what. Find something got to do with at least education if you want to talk about the general. Like the second one can still be accepted, but you should find background, some thoughts that relates to ESL. Right? So don't, after this, I really hope you amend all of this, right? Okay, and then your theory also. Actually, this is not a question, but PLC is not a theory. So don't include that in your theory. Population. All right. This is a question. Do you design your questionnaire?
No, I adapt from others.
Okay, you should mention in your iPhone. You have
I
mentioned
mentioned
in your text, because you didn't say anything about that. So you adapt and adopt. How about validating the adapted and adopted questionnaire? Do you have any experts for that?
So actually, I referred that to my supervisor first. Yeah, after I adopted it, I showed it to my supervisor, and then after analyzing and such, we come down from 35 questions. we narrow down to 20, we come down to 25 questions. So from there, we already analyzed the validity of content validity. We need to make sure that it's able to measure the perception of the perception.
So only a supervisor.
Nice.
Okay. Next time, I have to, but because supervisor might have biased, biased opinion or justification. Okay, you should find other experts. Okay, because after this, you might want to further your study into postgraduate, masters, and PhD. Okay, so I hope in future when you do a survey or whatever research, the procedure is followed correctly. All right, so you need experts other than your supervisors. Okay. Stated here for your hypothesis, you use null hypothesis, right? Okay, and then in your discussion, you said the hypothesis rejected. Your findings stated just now, is there any significant difference or no difference?
Significant means my hypothesis is that there is no significant difference. However, after doing the test, it showed that there is significant difference. So my hypothesis is rejected.
There is significant difference.
Yeah, there is.
No, that is by Tyner or the results by Tyner or yours?
I mean, Tyner 2017, he said that there is large difference when the p-value is between 0.05 to 0.
Okay.
So mine is 0.05.
Where is it? 0.05.
0.05.
Okay, I think that is all from me. Only that I really hope everybody, not you only, not you only, but everybody, you should understand that a survey is need a large population. Because if you are doing survey, you want to have a greater number of perceptions. Then only you can have the valid results, because you talk also about validity. You said you're afraid that if you choose other IPG or other courses, it is not valid. I am afraid if you do ESL, it is not valid. Okay, because it is only a small, very small population, and actually we cannot consider this as a population because you're talking about collaboration as a general, meaning that it also touches on other fields. And if you choose ESL, you should administer the questionnaire to all ESL, not only June 2008. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Faisal and Dr. Rashida. Now, please welcome the next presenter, Nuri Husna binti Muhammad Chakra from Tesla 5 present presentation. Please welcome.
Okay, Bismillah.
Wait.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. I did to my panel, Dr. Rashida and Dr. Faisal and my fellow. So my name is Nuri Husna binti Muhammad Zahid.
from TESOL 5, and I am here to present my thesis on online learning experience by IPG KDRI TESOL semester 5 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So, background of my study. This study is based on online learning. According to Brennan and Simpson, 2012, online an instructional environment which is supported by the internet, and it can be fully online or blended with face-to-face interaction. Now, online learning can happen in various ways. For example, web-based application or mobile-based application. For web-based application, we have Google Meet, Google Classroom, quizzes, and so on. While mobile application, we have WhatsApp and Telegram and many more. Now, online learning has been no foreign subject in global education system. However, only recently in Malaysian education system where online learning is emphasized as being one of the shift in Malaysian education blueprint, which is used to transform learning to a more personalized learning for students. Now, according to Hamdan 2017, due to this shift, all tertiary university institution has started so slowly to progress to online learning as their mode of learning. However, due to the COVID-19 cases, which in 25th of January 2020 marks the first COVID-19 case in Malaysia, measures were enforced to lessen the number of infected. This caused for online learning, which was slowly progressing into our learning system, came to full blast as it became our main and only learning mode. Now, statement of the problem. Now, as I scoured the internet searching for my statement of problem, I found that according to Markudeli Alo 2020, he did a survey study on a university in Indonesia where they only use online learning using WhatsApp and Telegram applications. So the lecturers there would upload materials and lecture notes in WhatsApp or Telegram and would send voice notes alongside of the notes. So they would send voice notes to inform students of the instructions or for the examples of the lecture notes. While online learning from different levels. So there are a study done by our supervisor, Commission and Hansen, that was done on the challenges faced by students in Ghana country. And this study was done on senior high school, college students, and university students. Lastly, IPG students' learning environment. According to Zawiyah Bahrum in 2020, online learning in IPG KDRI were non-existent as we only use online online platform to share notes and tutorials only. I feel like we can all be a testament to that. When I say that before pre-COVID pandemic, we were using Google Classroom to upload our tutorials and lecture notes only. So based on this past researches, I want to fill in the gap where there is a need to studying IPG students online learning experience, because beforehand we weren't exposed to online learning as much or as frequently as we would today. Next. So my purpose of this study, the first one is to understand the most significant challenge faced by semester 5 training teachers during online learning. Secondly, it's to understand the most prominent benefit of online learning gained by the TESOL PISMP semester 5 training teachers. And lastly, to know whether semester 5 training teachers are ready to continue online learning after IPG opens. My research objective is to analyze the most significant challenge faced by TESOL PISMP semester 5 training teachers during online learning. I also want to understand the most prominent benefit of online learning gained by the TESOL PISMP Semester 5 trainee teachers. And lastly, I want to find out whether they are ready to continue online learning. So my research question, this thesis study is attempt to answer what is the most significant challenge faced by the TESOL PISMP Semester 5 trainee teachers during online learning. Secondly, it is what is the most prominent benefit of online learning gained by TESOL PISMP Semester 5 trainee teachers? And lastly, are TESOL PISMP Semester 5 ready to continue online learning? So, the significance of my research. From my findings of my research, lecturers could formulate learning strategies that ease learning for trainees, teachers, and lecturers. When we, at the end of this study, when we find out what is the most prominent challenge that trainees, teachers face, teachers, trainees, and lecturers could together come up with a learning strategy that would overcome the challenge. Secondly, trainee teachers will understand their learning challenge and work to improve their online learning. By understanding what are the challenges and recognizing which is the most prominent, trainee teachers would be able to overcome and work to overcome their learning challenge. Lastly, administrators. Administrators will be able to create schedule that better accommodate trainee teachers and lecturers during online learning. This is because maybe trainee teachers are facing some sort of internet connection problem. So administrators could create schedules or framework that would better accommodate trainee teachers' challenge. So related past researchers, I looked onto these three past researchers. The first one is Marco Deli Ado 2020, claimed students of University Kristen Indonesia Toraja enjoyed online learning. So this is the past research and the study where I said that they use mainly and only mobile applications such as WhatsApp Messenger and Telegram to conduct online learning. But by conducting online learning through mobile application, they stated that students enjoyed online learning and would like to continue online learning after the opening of their institution. Secondly, also Fajr, Thompson, and Hansen, they stated they use high school students and tertiary institution students in Ghana. They also stated that independent online learning was difficult and ineffective for them. It should be mentioned that in Ghana area, in the country of Ghana, they stated that during that time when the pandemic hits, a lot of homes were unable to have internet access, thus making it different and difficult and ineffective for students to have an independent online learning. Lastly, Dahlia Jana 2020, as she did a study on teacher training students of University Pendidikan Indonesia. She said that among all of these challenges that she asked the students, she said that internet access is one of the biggest hindrances to online learning. Other challenges that she stated was family issue, technological problem, and reachability in terms of internet. And this is my research design. So I use quantitative. And I use descriptive analysis for my research. I use survey and questionnaire. So for my population example, my population is IPG KDRI semester test. IPG KDRI PISMP TESOL semester 5 consisted of 72 trainee teachers. My sample is 59 trainee teachers. I dictated this sample based on the sample size determination table by Crashy and Morgan. The reason why I chose PISMP semester 5 is because at the time, when pandemic first hit, they were only in IPG for a year. So they were able to experience all of the face-to-face interaction and all the benefits that comes from face-to-face classroom. However, when I started my research, they had been learning online for a year. So I felt that it was appropriate to use them because they had the same amount of time spent using online learning and face-to-face interaction. So this is my research instrument question. For my section, I had 4 sections. Trainee teachers demographic, where I asked their gender and unit. The second is challenges faced by trainee teachers during online learning. There are 5 types of challenge which I will go through in the next slide. And this is consisted of 28 questions. My section C is regarding benefits gained by teacher trainees. There are 3 types of benefits which I will explain later. And 13 items were asked to trainee teachers. And last but not least, section D, where I asked a yes or no question regarding whether they would like to continue online learning. So my research procedure, my questionnaires were adapted from Owusu, Pelajar, Council, and Hansen, where I said that they did on Ghanaian students, and Dahlia Jana, students' challenges while attending online synchronous learning during pandemic. So both study, I adapted their questionnaires and I ran through with my supervisor, and I did a pilot study using 12 respondents and received combat alpha of 0.83 to validate my questionnaires. Now, for my data collection procedure, after I received my supervisor's approval, I distribute the sample through Google Formulary. I waited for 3 days for their responses, checked thoroughly, and sent Google links to those who did not answer, and I combined all the responses. So for my data analysis, I use descriptive analysis. I use the IBM SPSS statistic and mean interpretation table by Nur Farahana and Nur Hasmia, 2018, for research question 1 and research question 2. This is my finding for my research question 1. So my research question 1 is, what is the most significant challenge faced by TESOL PISMP semester 5 trainee teachers during online learning? So my challenges were internet connection, technological knowledge, resources, communication, and learning style. So based on this mean that I received, learning style is the highest challenge that was experienced by teacher trainee, according to Nur Farahana and one Nur Hasmia table of mean interpretation. Thus, making it learning style as the highly experienced challenge. Next, for my data finding for research question 2, what is the most prominent benefit of online learning gained by the PISMP semester 5 trainee teachers? So there were 3 benefits that I questioned, which were technological literacy, resource, and flexibility. So according to trainee teachers, they felt that technological literacy was the most prominent benefit that they gained during online learning. This is based on high mean score by Nur Farahana and one Nur Hasmia. And last but not least is my research question, my data finding for my research question 3. TESOL PISMP semester 5 trainee teachers ready to continue online learning, and the respondent answered no with frequency of 51 of them answered no, and the percentage will be 52.5. So it can be concluded that IPG Kedirai, TESOL PISMP semester 5 trainee teachers are not ready to continue with online learning. So discussion for my research question. So for research question 1, learning style is the most significant challenge that trainee teachers experience. This is according to Dunn and Dunn. Learning style impacts greater intake of knowledge. According to them, to allow greater increase of knowledge during a class, they stated that learning approaches and learning strategies should be accommodated to students' learning style preferences. This is also supported by Owusu, Pelajar, and Council and Hansen 2020, where they stated that their respondents, due to the inadequate learning environment, cause their learners to be distracted. In this case,
their learners did not have a suitable learning environment to learn, thus making them hard to focus in class and be distracted. Then you present, yeah. So research question number 2. Technological literacy is the most prominent benefit that IPD Cadre R SOP ISMP semester 5 training teachers gain during online learning. So according to Aguilera Hermida 2020, online learning enables students to have an increase in their knowledge in various online platforms. This is true because teacher trainees are now able to access and explore more online learning platforms than they would before COVID. And this is supported by Murphy 2020, where they said that students' self-efficacy and confidence increased drastically. This is because they were able to explore and gain more information regarding technological literacy and other technological platforms. And last but not least, research question 3, trainee teachers believe online learning is not as beneficial as traditional classroom learning. Online learning had a negative impact on student learning, according to Awusu, Fajo, and Komsun and Hansen. This is because they stated that due to the challenges that our students were facing, students prefer to have a face-to-face interaction, and the challenges that the students face cause them to have learning displacement among themselves. And last but not least, students prefer face-to-face interaction according to Aguilera Hermida. According to her,
Okay, on.
and conclusion. So is for the conclusion for my research question 1, the most significant challenge that IPT Cadre R TESOL PSMP semester 5 training teachers experience was learning style. For my research question 2, technological literacy was the most prominent benefit that IPT Cadre R TESOL PSMP semester 5 training teachers gained during online learning. And research question 3, IPT Cadre TESOL PISMP semester 5 training teachers were not ready to continue online learning and would prefer to have a face-to-face classroom. So my recommendation, lecturers should communicate with training teachers regarding any challenges that they may face. Training teachers should always find ways to improve their online learning experience, and administration should create funds and strategy to help teacher trainees overcome any challenges during online learning. So the implication, lecturers will be enlightened on the struggles that training teachers face during online learning. Training teachers will also be able to provide insight on their struggles and strengths they gain from online learning, and administrators would be enlightened on ways that online learning can affect training teachers.
Thank you, Marie. Now, please welcome the panelists to ask any questions to the presenter.
Okay. For your information, Noreen, the lecturers also struggle actually.
That's why I said the administrators should work on ways to help lecturers and
Okay, because this is something that we never think of, we never foresee that will happen. Okay, congrats, Noreen Husna, but actually, you should, not only you lah, but all of you actually, when you're given 15 minutes, and you should adhere to the time limit given to you. Okay, kalau you buat viva betul-betul ni kat universiti, kat situ dan ada cut off point terus. Okay, so your research question and research objective. Okay, what is the most significant challenge faced by the TESOL PISMP semester 5 training teachers? Okay. Okay, the most significant. And then number 3, though, research question number 3. To find out TESOL PISMP semester 5 training teachers' willingness to continue online learning. We have already continued now, right?
Yeah. At that time, it was up in the air.
Where did you carry out this research?
When it was okay, so practicum 1, after practicum 1, because my supervisor said to collect data quickly.
Okay. significance of the research, please. Formulate learning strategies that is learning for trainees, teachers, and lecturers. Right? That is for lecturers, right? That is for lecturers. Kenapa formulate learning strategies?
Oh, okay. So I thought that maybe that the lecturers could understand that if students have internet connection problem, that maybe lecturers could carry out lessons for maybe 10 minutes and then use asynchronous online learning to help students continue learning the topic. So
Isn't it better if you change it to formulate teaching strategies instead of learning strategies? Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Kan untuk lecturers kan. So you want us to learn
Sorry.
the strategies or what? Okay, another thing is one last thing before I gave the baton to Dr. Rashida.
Yeah.
Okay. Your question is, okay, data finding for research question 1. Data finding.
Yeah.
Research finding for research question 1, part Q1. Learning style is a challenge that was highly experienced and impactful. What is learning style?
Okay, so learning style, I base listening style on the learning style that was proposed by Dan and Dan. So learning style under Dan and Dan, there are 5 preferences, which are
Did you mention that in your thesis?
Yes, I did in that model.
Okay. Continue.
Oh, okay. So so there are environmental, sociological, physiology, emotional, and psychology preferences. So in this questionnaire, I asked whether the students could do you feel comfortable learning at your own home? Do you feel comfortable? Do you have any noise disturbances? Or another one is, do you feel comfortable learning with no teacher in front of you? Sorry, I
Okay.
didn't put.
Yes, actually, since that is your finding, you shouldn't just mention about learning style because that is the most important findings that you find, right? The finding for your research. So since that is the most, because your question is, what is the most significant challenge, right? You should elaborate on that. Okay, elaborate on that. Don't just keep as something that kita kena gagal sendiri, Kena gagal sendiri. Cari apa ni? You want us to, next time when you present your findings, so you need to be more clear, more, be more, you need to explain better. So you need to, sometimes when you present your finding ni, jangan bagi kami ni the loopholes for me to ask a question. You know tak? Tahu tak? Okay, ni okay lagi. Kami kan kalau you pergi dekat for your masters ke PhD yang ini dah ke pantai tu. Kalau you memang panik, tergagau, tak boleh jawab, habis. Jangan bagi kami peluang untuk tanya you so many questions. You know, itu dia punya teknik tau, dia punya ni. Jangan bagi satu peluang pun. So when you present, bagi the details as you can. Ini this is the most important thing. And then you bagi saya peluang untuk faham tak? Nak matikan you kat sini dia. Okay, nak menjerut leher you, jerut kat sini. Okay, next time I give you the clue. Jangan gantung leher you dengan benda yang tergantung macam ni. Okay. Learning style, because this is the most important thing that you need to tell. So masa tu you bagi the details as you can. Okay? Okay, thank you.
All right. Congrats, Noreen, for completing your research and presentation. Again, about the sample size, we have talked a lot about that. Hopefully, in future, don't let this happen again. Okay, my question is, without looking at your slides, tell me your research problem. I mean, the issues.
So basically, my issue is I want to find
Number
out-
one,
Number one. Oh, okay, research problem. Research problem. So number one is the online learning using mobile applications. So based on the research done by Marku Daily.
okay.
Okay.
Online learning. So
Online
what the issue? What is the issue?
So they only focus on learning using mobile. So they specify on using mobile applications. So I didn't specify, so I did it generally because I figured
Okay,
that sorry. And number two is using different levels of students. So for Awusu, Fajr, Kansun, and Einstein, if I'm not mistaken, they use in high school students, in college students, and tertiary.
Okay. Number three.
Number three is IPG learning environment. So before COVID, online learning were not used. We only use on the platform to upload and share notes only.
Okay. So how the problem number one, problem number two relate to your research?
So problem number one and problem number two. So for problem number one, because they only specify using online learning, using mobile applications, I thought that since IPG Kedai, we use a lot of applications, Google Classroom, Google Meet, Zoom, and so on. I thought that it was appropriate to mention that as a problem statement because they only specify.
Okay, so what's the issue? Because your topic, I mean your title, the title of the research is the challenges faced online learning. So how it relates to the challenges?
So according to them, they said that students enjoy online learning. So they want to continue online learning. But I thought that since they only use online learning using mobile applications and
Okay. You said that, but I thought your problem statement should based on literature. That is why I asked you, because I can't see the issues in your statement of problem. You said online learning for mobile application. So what? What it got to do with the challenges? You should state here, okay, your title of the title of your research is challenges, online learning experience, right? Online learning experience, and then your research question is to find the challenges. So your problem statement should got to do, should have something got to do with challenges, because it is not. I can't see the issues related to your research here. Okay, so you said that from the research, Marku Delhi, they use WhatsApp application. So what they use? So what's the issue? Dia suka application tu. Yeah. So what you got to do? It relates to the challenges. So you should state here so that your issue can be seen clearly. All right. I hope after this you amend your problem statement, because this is actually also the gist. People will look at the problem statement to understand what do you want to do actually. What is the gap between past researchers and the research that you want to do. Okay, so it must be clear. Also, the second one, you said online learning from different levels of education. Again, if they do this research, different level of education, so what it got to do with your research? Okay? So you must state something some issues relate to challenges. Right? They are online learning done, but this is what the challenge is. So that is more or less your sentences should be. All right? And then also the third one. Okay, students' learning environment. Platform used is to share notes. So how it relates? That should be clearly stated. I think that's all that I want to ask. Other than that, is the repetition of what we have touched before this, about the sample size, about the population, the need of experts. Okay, it is not also stated here. Okay, whether you adapt or adopt or you design your questionnaire yourself, it's not stated in your slides. I don't know whether. So you have an expert?
No, adapted.
Yeah, I know you adapted,
no,
but you
the
didn't mention about experts. That is what I mean. Okay, you did mention you adapt, you adopt.
My only was supervisor. My only expert.
So same thing, yeah, same. Okay.
All right, thank you. Okay, thank you, Dr. Faiza and Dr. Rashida. Also, our last presenter, after presenting, okay, lesson 3 present his presentation.
Wait, Afina. Wait, yeah. Wait a minute. Because we need to discuss. Yeah.
Yes.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone, including the judging panel, the timekeeper, the moderator, and everyone who is around this beautiful language hall for this morning. My name is Abinizat bin Effendi, and today I'll be presenting everyone about my research topic, which is the assessing of the effectiveness of associative in gaining students' interest into learning. Without further ado, let's go to the next slide. Okay, background of the study. Has anyone ever heard or even watched or even understand or even know what on earth is associative? If anyone does, raise your hands, please. Anyone? All right, most of us does, like myself. All right. Associative was actually an educational channel. It was first launched on the 18th September 2010. Okay, from the and this entire channel was made in the collaboration between Astro Sendirian Berhad and the Malaysian Education Ministry. Now, the reason why on earth these two big organizations thought of creating this entire channel is simple. They wanted to create a channel that its sole purpose is to garner students' interest into learning. And what better way is to make a specific education channel for making students study for the UPSR, which is the actual intent of associative. bizarrely enough, this entire channel still continues to run to this very simple day. I mean, if you look at the Astro channel right now, Astro Tutor TV is still running and it never stopped, unfortunately. And also, fun fact, from the year 2013, thanks to the popularity of the channel and the success of the channel, somewhat, Astro and the Malaysian Education Ministry decided to expand the channel into two more new versions. One for the PMR, which is later changed to PG3 version of the channel, and one is for the SPM version of the channel.
I think you should hurry up.
All right, thank you very much. Now let's go. Now, the problem statement is there's only one problem statement, which is the nature of mass media as a hook for viewer interest can be used as a means to gain students' interest into learning, and Astro Tutor TV is one of the ways to do exactly that. However, the effectiveness of the channel on making students interested into learning in the first place is questionable, and it is worried that its programming of that exact channel for students considering of the content that the show presents itself. Next slide here. All right. So why on earth am I making this research in the first place? Well, two reasons actually. Ladies and gentlemen, one is to resolve the doubt of Astro Tutor TV's effectiveness of gaining student interest into learning by assessing its ability to pretty much gain students and make students interested into learning. And reason number two is to find out what are the things that actually is effective at making students interested to learning and find out what are the things that does not do exactly that. Next slide, please. All right. The research objective of my research is basically three. One, to figure out Astro Tutor TV is effective at making students interested into learning. Research objective number two, to assess the perspective of the students when watching Astro Tutor TV, whether they're interested or not, according to their perspective, of course. And research objective number three is what elements or any factors that was found on the channel that makes students interested and vice versa on Astro Tutor TV. Next slide, please. Now, the research questions, there are three. One, how effective Astro Tutor TV on making students interested into learning? Research question number two, what is their opinion on the channel after watching it? And question number three, what elements from Astro Tutor TV that the students like and also dislike? They not getting dislike. Now, what's so significant about now? There might be people asking me, what's so significant about this study to begin with? Why are you doing this study? What's so significant? Well, there were three reasons actually. Number one, to encourage the Malaysian Education Ministry, ATM, and Astro and Berhad, aka the minds behind the creation of that channel, to further improve the channel if it does work and figure out any new ways or any new methods to gain students' interest into learning. If in case the channel actually botches up its intended original intentional idea or its purpose. Number two, it is to help teachers figure out any ways to gain student interest into learning. Because let's face it, no matter how good your content of your learning is, if students are not interested, they will not bother to be learned by it. Therefore, by this study, this is hope that any teachers can have any idea on how on earth are they going to make students feel interested into their learning. And significant number three, to also help teachers understand the perspective of students on how to make learning interesting for them. In other words, instead of thinking of for themselves, how can they make these students feel interested in learning, is hope that the teachers can understand what the students want to make their learning interesting for them, to make them feel invested into their learning. That's all very much. Thank you. Next up. All right. Across my research, I have gone far and wide to find out any past researchers related to this study. Unfortunately, there's no local researchers related to the study because, well, unfortunately, I found out that no one questioned the effectiveness of ASCO to the TV until myself. Therefore, I have to find out any other sources that relate my study. And surprisingly, there's only like 5 of past researchers that relate to the study. The first research is made by Weinberger, Tosani, Greenwood, and Dogu back in 2004, when these 4 people study about how this one show known as Between the Lions is effective at pretty much making garnering and teaching literacy skills for children. And based on that research, they found out that this channel actually, for the most part, works on that exact purpose. Yeah. That's I can say about the first research. Now the second research. The second research is the educational impact of television's potential and limitations by Daniel R. Henderson, L.J. Levine, and Catherine G. Hansen, made in 2012. Now, from this past research, they found out that this entire learning by television doesn't exactly work for all children. However, this learning by television works best on students who are from late preschool age, like 6-year-old something, all the way to like all the way to students at primary school age, which is 7 to 12. The third study is about the effectiveness of televised children's program in the linguistic development of kindergarten children for teachers' viewpoints. But that was made in 2016. And based on that search, they found out that the study found out that the teachers are mostly very agreed on how effective the TV, and they think that it actually works with that study. Study number 4 is about the factors that influence interest in learning English during COVID-19 pandemic. And from base of this research, they have found out there were 3 pretty much main important factors that influence student interest into this research, which is 1, convenience, 2, difficulty, and 3, time. And the last research based on this research of mine is made by this was Kumar Azam Zaman and whatever Bangladeshi name, made in like the same year as study number 4 is, which is about TV-based learning in Bangladesh. Is it reaching students? No. And based on that research, they have found out that, well, unfortunately, it did reach pretty much everyone in Bangladesh due to some factors like poverty and out of reach where they are and lack of access of television. Next slide, please. All right, for my research design, I have only used 2 research designs. 1 is the observation method, and 2 is the interview method. Next slide, please. But for the population and sample, I have chosen the perfect people, to my opinion, to be the guinea pigs of my research. As you can see in this, as you can see from this picture, the students who participated in this are the students from year 6, Berlin, which is actually where I went to execute my research. These students, that's the students of 6 billion. And the sample was done by purposeful sampling. That is. Next slide, please. All right. Why the instruments am I using for data collection? For interview protocols, all I need is testing, which is a question set. Why question set? Simple. I make questions for the students to answer. I will ask the students during the interview based on this question set that I made. Then their answers, I will record them in this set. Now, for observation, there are only 2 things that I need. 1 is a notebook, and 2, a camera. I'll explain why during the data collection method. Next slide. All right. So what are the procedures that I'm taking to execute my research? There were around 6 steps. Step number 1, the researcher will prepare the questions for the interview part. So step number 2, the researcher have to scour the internet to find any videos based on different shows that premiere on SRT TV, and any video from any show that existed that was run in the same time as SRT TV has. Step number 3. And then after all the preparation was done, the teacher go to the wherever he's making research, which in my case, I went to SK Room and we call upon some students. Particularly in my case, I call some students from 6 billion. Thank you very much to them for helping me with my research. Call upon this research. Step number 4. Then the pupils will firstly be grouped together in the classroom for a watch-along session where the researcher will show different videos of different shows from SFTT TV for the students. And during that time, that step was made where, while the students are busy watching, the researcher will observe what the students are doing, what are their reactions, what are their behaviors during the watch-along. And it continues until the watch-along ends. And then after that, comes to the next step, which is after the watch along, the researcher will randomly choose 5 students for the interview. And then final step, during the interview, the researcher will write down any responses or any feedback from the students during the interview. Next slide, please. Now, for the data collection procedures, there were 2 ways, right? Okay, for the observation, all I need to do is step 1. I observe the students during the watch along. Step number 2, whatever I observe, whatever I found out during the observation, I will write down in a notebook about what their behavior, what their behavior, what their reactions to the channels shows the watch along. And step number 3. In the meanwhile, after that all is done, in the meanwhile, the researcher will have to take a camera and take some video or take a picture of what he's observing, which is pretty much important for the data analysis. And that's for the observation step. For interview, you also take steps. Step 1. Researcher will interview the 5 chosen students. Step 2, use the question set as the basis of the interview. And step number 3, all responses from each student will be responded in the question set. Next slide, please. Now, for the data analysis procedure, step 1, the researcher will look upon the writings of the observation. Step 2, analyze the writings of the observation. And step 3, analyze while looking at the pictures and videos of the observation to make sure the researcher doesn't miss any important points. For the interview, step 1, the researcher will look upon all the responses of interviewed students. Step number 2, note the responses of students based on each question. Step 3, analyze the responses. And step 4, link the answers of the students with the factors of what interests them of the channel and what doesn't. All right. For the data findings from the observation, it is shown. What I found out during the observation is at the start of the watch along, the students were very interested. They were very hyped up on watching the channel, right? However, as time went on, the students suddenly lose interest to the channel. Some of them are sleeping, some of them are chatting, and some of them even try to disturb me while I'm taking their picture. And that's based on the observation. However, there is an exception. Soon. For the interview, however, of the 5 interviewed students, only 3 of them show any positive responses, and the 2 show negative responses. According to the positive response students, they were regular watchers of the show, and according to them as well, the reason why they like watching channel is because they believe that they will be rewarded with any important tips that they may use for either the exam or their studies. However, for the negative response students, according to them, they were not regular watchers of the show, and they believe the shows of the channel were particularly boring. Most of them, however, because there's one surprising thing I found from my research, which is what was surprising is there's only one saving grace of the channel, which, during the observation, the students feel suddenly jump back up and feel interested again. And according to the interviewees, they say that this exact thing is the only thing that they felt interested, and that is the Geng UPSR show. Has anyone heard about Geng UPSR show? Everyone heard that? Okay. That exact one show is the only saving grace of this entire channel. Where the observation and the interview, they found out that that's the only thing that the students agree on. So, the discussions. How effective is Assertive TV at making students interested in learning? The answer, Assertive TV, the effectiveness is very limited in getting students interested. The reason why that is because simple. The channel lacks in the trigger of interest and the utility value, which is pretty much needs to be fulfilled in order to make students interested into learning. However, the reason why its effectiveness is limited, not non-effective or fully effective, is because of that one saving grace, which is the show Geng UPSR. Now, for the question, what is the opinion of the channel after watching it? After observations and the interviews there was a significant number of students that actually liked the show. However, more students actually dislike the show because how boring it is. However, all those students agree on one exact thing. So, Geng UPSI is the only show that is worth watching, and that's the best thing of the entire channel. Now, question number 3. What elements from Assertive TV are the students like? There were some elements based on the interview they were made. Some students like it because how convenient the channel is, which is obvious because they can just watch the channel from their home. Some students like it because the channel's promise of helping them gain important knowledge on anything that they need, like exams and studying and stuff. However, the number one element why the students love this channel is entertainment value, and it can only fulfill by one show, which is, say it with me now, Geng UPSR. So, conclusion, this study has found out that SOT TV has limited effectiveness of making students interested into learning. So, one of the recommendations that was needed for anyone in existence to either further improve my study, because let's be honest, I believe my study is a bit lacking in some stuff. Well, there are 2 recommendations. I think 1, include a third data type for any future research that relates to this topic. So why is it? Because if there's a third data type, this entire research can have the triangulation thing that happened. And if this research can be able to be triangulated, the evidences of the research will be more solid and, well, at least it looks better, in my opinion. Recommendation number 2, also include the factors of interest interventions when conducting research similar to this. Like, for example, like students feel like happy, sad, or are they angered from the channel like that, or other interest interventions factors that were actually not been mentioned to this research. I hope anyone doing that research will do exactly that. All right. The implications of this research that I've done is 1. There's hope that this study has opened the eyes of the Malaysian Education Ministry about the potential and the shortcomings of educational television in Malaysia. Also implied that with the data that I made in this research will open the eyes of teachers all over this country about the about the perspective of the students on what, according to the students, pretty much is needed on gaining their interest and what doesn't interest them into their learning. And also, the last application is to improve upon the new education ministry's pet project, which is Bilik, which is answer to the TV, but even more. And it is pretty much, and with this research, I hope the education ministry will further improve that thing. This what Astro, what is what happened to MTV7. Rest in peace, MTV Future. Thank you very much for listening to my this presentation. Open to any questions, and also this presentation is brought to you by myself.com, which is a non-existent website. Thank you very much, and questions.
Now let's please welcome the panelists to ask any questions.
Okay, congratulations, Apin.
Thank you very
It's a
much.
very interesting topic actually. Something that you explore, you try to explore. And I think that Astro Tutor TV actually should thank you for doing this research.
There's so many representatives from the Brazilian Berhad was also here as well. It's in there at the channel.
Yeah, okay, but my question is that Astro Tutor TV and TVD, is it the same? All right.
No, because Astro Tutor TV existed pretty much 12 years earlier than Bilik TV. And of course, Bilik TV is more broad in its general audience. Well, Tutor TV,
The
Yes.
TV is under KPM.
yes.
Astro Tutor TV,
Astro Tutor TV is also under
under
KPM as well. However, the difference between Tutor TV and Bilik TV is simple. Bilik TV is for a broad student audience. It doesn't have a target demographic of students. Tutor TV, however, has only 3 target demographic students. UPSI students, which unfortunately UPSI is redundant, unfortunately, thanks a lot, COVID. 53 students, aka 43 students, 40 students. PTP is also cancelled because COVID, thanks a lot, COVID, and SPM students, which SPM still exists, despite the other 2 exam systems are gone.
Okay. Okay. So hope after this the Astro Tutor TV, somebody from Astro will approach you.
Amen to that, I guess.
Okay. Because you can get lots of money actually for doing this from Astro. You can sell it to Astro, you know. your finding, right? But then you need to do it in a more in a better way lah, more dipanggil tu
Compelling, specific,
proper, yeah, proper way. So they should give you grant for this. So my comment is Apin, that the assessing you look at the topic. Okay, I think I have already approached you before, right, about your topic. Yeah, I've already told you before this, right, about your topic, assessing the effectiveness of Astro Tutor TV.
Yes.
So actually, when you look at the title, the effectiveness of Astro Tutor TV means that you need to when you use the word effectiveness, it shows that the different research design that need to be used.
Yeah.
Okay, whereby your research is on based on qualitative.
Basic
But-
qualitative.
Yeah, qualitative, right? Basic qualitative. But when you use the word effectiveness, it becomes quasi-experimental. I think I've already told you before, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Okay, it's okay. I think it's just that you need to change the title. You not change the content, but you need to change the title later after this. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know what, but I have discussed with Dr. Rashida. that your title, maybe you can use, you can discuss with your supervisor after this. Okay, the use of TV educational programs instead of using the word Astro Tutor TV. Okay, TV educational program to gain students' interest in learning English.
Learning in general.
In learning in general, not English.
Yes.
In learning.
Yes, no. Because for me,
Uh-huh.
no matter what subject it is, if the students are not interested into learning any subject, then what's the point?
Okay, in learning that.
Yes.
Tapi actually for this apa ni research, actually you should focus in learning English. Tapi since you have done it, what to do? Okay, in learning lah. Tapi you change that effectiveness, Astro Tutor TV to TV educational program. Okay, but inside, in your research, in your background, background, maybe you can mention about Astro Tutor TV,
Yeah.
but not in your title. Inside, yes, you can. Maybe you just focus on, you use Astro Teacher TV as one of the TV educational program that available.
Yes.
Okay, can you see the connection there?
I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do not mention Astro Teacher TV in your title, but mention it inside. Okay, because you are not doing this for Astro. Unless you do it for Astro give you the grant.
I have thoughts of doing that as well in the future.
Well, you
Yeah.
can do that. But you should approach Astro.
Aim high.
It's all
Yeah.
for that.
Okay,
In
you
the
should.
future.
Yeah. So apa lagi? So when you change the topic there, the title there. So in your research question, you kena tukar juga. Okay. So you because your research question, how effective is Astro Tutor TV on making students interested into learning? Because we don't want it to be effective. You don't want it to be effective. How effective Astro Tutor TV, right? Because your research is qualitative, as I said
Yes.
before, right?
Yes.
So keluarkan the word effectiveness. So when you take out that effectiveness in your title, so take out the word effectiveness in your research question too. Okay, change that. So biar align dengan you punya isi question, research question, research objective, research title should align. Okay, should align. Everything should align. So when you change your research question, you need to change everything related to that. Okay? To figure out Astro Tutor TV effective, nanti tukar. Like watching Astro Tutor TV to assess the effect of a perspective of students when watching TV educational program.
Educational channel.
Channel.
Yes,
Whatever.
Astro TV is actually a channel, not
A channel.
program.
Okay, not a program. Okay, whatever. Okay, so there are not inside you need to change something. When it comes to Astro Tutor TV, you change.
Yes.
You replace it with another term. Okay?
Yes.
And include your conclusion juga lah. Okay? Okay.
I think what I just add a little bit on what Dr. Faiza said. In the context of research, right? In the context of research, when we use the word effectiveness, it refers to experimental studies. Okay, where you have actually, for example, you have tutor TV channel and you have another way of learning. So you test which is good, which is better, which is not, which is which way or which method that students choose most. That is the way experimental studies, if we use the word effectiveness. Okay, so as for your research, qualitative, the word effectiveness cannot be used in terms of research, right? Okay. So for me, my question is, for your discussion, you stated just now, for your discussion, significant number of students.
Yes.
Okay. May I know how, maybe we can go to the discussion.
Discussion.
Discussion, yeah. Okay. That one. Discussion, my dear. Okay. There were a significant number. Okay. May I know how do you represent that? What does you mean by significant number? Do you count the students?
Well, actually, yes. Yes, I did count. And I didn't just base it on my observation. I also based it on, during the observation, I only take pictures and record the videos just to further reinforce what I found in my observation, just to make sure that I'm not hallucinating, I'm not
Okay, good. That is
facing mental
all right.
instability at that time.
How many
Yeah.
participants actually?
From this study, there were 30
30?
students, a single class, a single classroom filled with 33 students.
33 students. So all of them are your sample, your participant?
Yes. Well, for the observation only. Five from the 33 are chosen as the interview. And based on the observation, I saw that many of them, a huge majority of them, however, were busy, where all of them were start to very interested. Their eyes are open. They feel enthusiasm. They have the enthusiasm at the start of the watch along. And then as I continue to look upon them and as time went on, a lot of them, pretty much I counted more people actually feel woozy, feel a bit down, feel a bit and some of them even sleep. Some of them even talk to their friends behind them. And there were also some, if I remember correctly, around 4 of them disturbed me when I was busy taking pictures and all. And fun fact, the picture that I used during the sample day, that's actually during the time of the observation. They disturb me and they tell me, sir, I'm gambar, like that. It shows that they were pretty much less interested on the shows of the channel and more interested on anything else, like myself. all except for getting UPSI, which is, I explained, the only saving grace from that channel.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So when you say there were a significant number, how many of them actually?
Well, yes, around majority 23, 23 or 25 above.
Okay. So again, in your report, you can check back and you discuss with your supervisor. When you put the significant, okay, significant also the term that used for quantitative study, okay, where they use mean score to analyze. So in your case, it is better for you to put the number. So you report narrative, there were 20 of them
The exact number.
Exact number.
I think it's a
Yeah. Because you take pictures, you take videos,
Yes.
you can count.
Yeah.
All right. Because when we talk about qualitative studies, okay, the one that you can put in is the number, the frequency, meaning 2, 3, or you can put also percentage. That is what we can use in qualitative study.
Okay.
But when you use significant number, you should actually, if we use significant number, we have to refer to the mean score. Okay, when you use mean, meaning that you use quantitative study. Okay, so I hope after this you change that. Okay, please don't put significant, because when you put significant number, people will ask, are you doing quantitative or are you doing qualitative? Right? Okay, so I think you can trace the number, okay, from your recordings and your pictures.
Yes.
Okay, because you want to say that some of the students lie, okay, but we cannot say in research some. We have to have a definite number, all right? Okay, because this is your finding, and then later on you want to discuss. Okay? So in your discussion, narratively, you can put a lot or some, but with the number. Okay, some of them in bracket 9 participants or 20 participants, right?
I think it's like this. A majority of number of students, which is 29.
Yes,
That-
yes. That's good.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome.
Any other questions?
Okay, that's all from me. I hope after this, you can discuss our suggestion and the things that we commented with your supervisor. Okay, discuss with your supervisor again, so that your research will be more appropriate. Right?
Thank you.
Okay, congrats again. Apin, yours is very different from ours.
Thank you very much.
You dare to do something that is quite difficult actually.
Yeah.
Quite difficult. Only quality research is quite difficult to do actually.
I was doing this because of my curiosity. Actually.
Yes. That's the reason, right? Of why we do research. Out of curiosity, we want to know more about that, right?
So we
That's
can
why they read and search.
we can say that the students do not like it.
Majority of them, unfortunately, do not like,
Mm.
except King UPSI, which, to be honest, they can just air in any other channel. They can just air it at Astrolia. They can just air it at Astro Prima. And the students are interested.
What is that in cartoon? What in cartoon? The form of
It's a form of some sort of sitcom. Sitcom, like Oh My English.
I see.
But each episode and each part of it have like different episodes based on whatever they were about.
Different issues.
Different issues, different topics. Like for example, there's an episode that talked about mathematics, where everyone is busy trying to figure out to solve a pop math question in that episode.
Okay.
Yes.
You should contact Astro lah. Hey,
Guys should.
if you know somebody from Astro, then you should contact and ask them to give you grants to do more research on this, further research on this.
Not only Nambalian.
Yeah.
Maybe you can. This is actually a case study. Okay? This is actually a case study. The case is Future TV by Astro. That is your case. Okay. But if you do case study, you should actually have more data. Okay? People. Okay.
That's the reason I said that you need to contact Astro TV. Or maybe in the beginning, maybe you can do qualitative, whereby you should do survey and quantitative. You should do survey
Could try that, however, time constraints and also COVID restrictions pretty much made it hard.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for. I'll say goodbye. Farewell.
Presentation earlier. Presentation session this morning will now end. Congratulations to all presenters who have successfully presented their studies today. So that all teachers and trainees can various interpreting suggestions for improvement and refinement of their research report. I would like to thank the panel of assessors, lecturers, and trainees from IPG campus, Dr. Rosalie Ismail, and fellow audiences who will be